Hi Martin. Wanted to start with last night actually. You was back at the stadium, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, at the fans forum. How enjoyable was that? And I guess how important is it, as it should be, that the women's team were represented by yourself and Bethany on an occasion like that?
No, it's important. I think for the unity between the club, between men's and women's team, and also the club as a whole, being able to come together to meet the fans, answer questions, but more importantly then as a staff before that, to outline the direction we're going in and where the club's going in with both teams, and to be there with Thomas, and more importantly for me, someone who I've looked up to and I still look up to as a head coach, and someone who I have a good relationship with at this club. So no, it was a really nice occasion for us, myself and Beth, to be there and be part of that panel. Really nice occasion.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Thomas. Obviously, you work in the same building, but it's such a big place. You're not going to be with each other day to day. But was it nice, I guess, for yourself, as a younger coach compared to him, to kind of pick his brains and spend a bit more time with him than you sort of normally would?
Yeah, I think we speak quite a bit in terms of over the phone and on message, and we come across each other quite a lot when I'm over this side. We have a good relationship. He gives me small golden nuggets of advice and supports me in terms of on the pitch and off the pitch. He's always looking out for our results and is always cheering the team on. So that's really important, and I'm the same with them as a team. And I think collectively that shows a real clear unity between the club, between both teams, and we just need to keep building that relationship so we can continue to, more importantly, win games between one another, but also more importantly wider, to make sure that we can keep taking this club forward.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned about a night like last night, sort of the topic turns to the future and I guess big plans. It's obviously been a great start, but how excited are you by the future, especially the conversations going on last night?
No, it's really important for me as a head coach. You want to be part of a club that has big ambition and has a desire to tackle the league and want to be successful, and whether that is league or that's cup competitions, we want to make sure we're competitive, and I'm sure the club will make sure we are. And more importantly now for me and Thomas is to make sure our teams are organised, effective, and we push on in all competitions to make sure that we can make the team successful in our head coach role. So it's important now we really knuckle down in this period before the international break. We have one game, the men's team are now coming back, and we want to make sure that we finish on a high against Birmingham on the weekend.
Yeah, and last from me and on the game, team news for the game after the Chelsea one at the weekend. Has everyone sort of shaping up going into this league?
Yeah, everyone's been training this week. Apart from the long-term injuries, Ella Luana, everyone's in contention for the game.
Thanks, George. We'll move to the online feed. Chris.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Just wanted to start with last weekend's game. How pleased you were with the defensive side of the game, and it was a much better performance against the top team.
Yeah, it was important. I think the second game where you've played, if you want to call it, one of the top teams in terms of Manchester City, and then it was Chelsea. I think our performance defensively was good. I think we restricted them for large parts in terms of clear-cut chances. Yes, they had a lot of the ball. They had touches in our penalty area. They had shots, but to limit them to 4 shots over the whole game, limit them to 1 shot on target in the first half, I think shows big and deserves big credit to the playing group to stick to something and be really effective. And throughout the first half, I didn't feel we were. Yeah, there was a wave of pressure, but I didn't feel like we were going to be broken down. And especially second half, I thought we looked more comfortable second half in terms of withstanding the pressure. And yeah, it takes a moment of brilliance from Kira Walsh to break that down, but I couldn't have asked any more. That will not just set you up for now, but it sets you up for the future in terms of being hard to beat. And you need that mentality and that organisation to allow that. And the players, done themselves proud in that game. Apart from the result, we never want to lose, and I don't. I hate losing, so that's not ideal, but we can definitely take positives from the defensive performance from the game.
Of course, the opponent is Birmingham City on Sunday, sitting second in the WSL2 table at the moment, and of course they drew 2-2 in their first League Cup game against Bristol City, winning on penalties. What have you made of them this season, and what sort of game are you expecting?
Yeah, Amy's a wonderful coach, and she has a wonderful group of players at Birmingham, and headed up by obviously Hope Powell. So a very proficient team, someone who's going to definitely push for promotion in the Super League 2, to come up to the Super League here. So yeah, we're expecting a really tough game, a really efficient game. I think both teams like to have the ball, both teams want to press aggressively, so it should all set up for being an entertaining game.
Now, of course, at the quarter-final stage of this competition, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United enter. Is it fair?
The format, isn't it? Because it's more for me is whether you come in later, you come in at the start. We have to make sure that we're prepared for any opponent. And the rules. They're not going to change, and there's no point in trying to look at them because we can't control it. We can moan about it or we can be happy about it, but it doesn't change anything. And for me, it's just making sure that when we come into these games, I believe we're capable of beating those teams if that's who we come up against. And we have to make sure we go in with that mindset.
Martin, of course, after this game is the international break. What do you get up to personally during the international break? Is there much work going on?
Yeah, there's a lot of work. Probably busier in international break than you are because you have a little bit more time in the schedule, so there's a lot more meetings dropped in your calendar. But no, I will try and switch off and spend some time. I'll go back home to Liverpool and see my parents, my niece, my sister and so on, some family, and I'll make sure then we're back because we have training to do leading into that first game after the international break. So yeah, spend some time, a couple of days at home, but yeah, I have a lot of meetings to do in the meantime.
Last thing from me, the game on Sunday, of course, is a chance to give players opportunities. I want to ask you about the development side, particularly the under 19s. Any players that you hope to feature perhaps this Sunday or this season, or any rising stars that we will see in the near future?
Yeah, we have a lot training with us, Chris, in terms of throughout the weeks. JP's been in with us, Mia Endicott's been in with us, Sarah Jackson's been in with us quite a lot, Sophie Jackson's been in with us quite a lot, and she's now just had the call up for the under-19s of England. So there's a lot of young players coming through, there's a lot of good players coming through. We have to just make sure we allow them to swim and not sink. We don't put them in situations where they're going to suffer, because you want to have a good experience in youth development, but also senior football. And we also have to make sure they got the right characteristics and they're at the right level before they come in. And I'd like to think through my career, and I'd like to think my gauge of when a player is ready is quite good within this league. So yeah, there'll be players maybe in this squad now when we go back and look at it as a technical team after this. But there's also a lot of players training with us, and that's the most important thing for me, that we see a good group of solid players coming through our academy. And I work really closely with Nick on that to make sure that we're using the ethos of the club, which is to develop our own talent. But we have to make sure we get that process right where players want to be a part of it and players want to enjoy what they do. And we don't try and push them too soon, too early, where they fail too much. Cheers, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks. Bruce?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, nice. About last weekend, what does a game like against Chelsea tell you about how close Spurs are to competing with the top sides in the league?
It tells us we've definitely got some kind of momentum. We've got some sort of foothold somewhere within that. If I'm being realistic, we've got a foothold, but we still have to do more to enable ourselves to stay there for longer. You can be persistent with those performances that get you there, but the biggest part is being consistent to stay there. And I think we've showed in the Chelsea game definitely a better performance than we had previously, and better than the last game previously. But more importantly for me, it's now making sure that we can maintain that level of performance and we can take that into the next game, and more importantly, the rest of the season, because you can do it at the start, but if you don't do it throughout the season, it doesn't really define you. And I want to make sure that when we get to the end of the season, we can look back and be kind of proud of performance throughout. But I think we have a foothold in that kind of mix up there. We just have to find the consistency in performance to allow it to happen more often.
Speaking about the top four, you've met Chelsea, but you've also met City. That was a totally different game. So what for you is the biggest difference?
Is more the mentality, the belief, the confidence of the players that they belong there and they believe they can compete at that level. And maybe off the back of the season they've just had, we still have some work to do in terms of really pushing that mentality. I think we took big steps with that, and I think the Chelsea performance showed that there was a courage, a bravery, and a real willingness to go out and compete and not be fearful of anything. And that's something I asked of the players before that game, that there's no fear when we play, but we respect the opponent. And I think we seen that in that Chelsea game, and you just need more of that. You have to go into games believing you can win the game, believing you belong there. And if you go in defeated before you start the game, then it becomes a really long day. And maybe some of that was in that Manchester City performance.
All right, thanks very much, and good luck for the weekend.
Thank you.
Dan Petland.
How are you, Dan?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just going back a little bit to Chris's question about the format. Obviously, over the last, 14 years, 13, 14 years, there's a select group of teams that have won this tournament.
Yeah.
Obviously, only 3 teams, most of those teams have been in the finals as
Yeah.
well. I suppose, with kind of the investment across the league, do you kind of ever see that changing? Or, do you think Spurs, for example, could kind of break into that group in terms of, challenging for domestic trophies, or do you think it'll still largely be about those kind of leading teams in the competition?
No, when you look at the FA Cup final that the club reached, I think it shows they can compete at that level. What you definitely need, more importantly than in cup competitions, you need the draw to go your way at some point. Where your run to the final or your run to those latter stages of competition is more favourable in your favour. But as we know now, no matter who you play in this league and no matter who you play in these competitions, every game is difficult, as you've seen maybe in the league campaign. And we have to make sure that we put ourselves in a position where we qualify from this group, and we know that's going to be tough. We have 2 tough games in Birmingham and Bristol, so it's no given. We're going to have to be at our best, and if we're not, we'll come up short. And we have to make sure that if we break out of that, then we have to embrace any that comes our way. And no matter what the format is of who comes in where and who's been in the finals at any point, I think what we can control is our own destiny and where we want to go and our own performances. And if we do that and we continue to build what we're doing, I believe we're not far shy of being in those competition finals in the near future.
Just going back to Amy Merrick's, I know you said about being a great coach. What's kind of impressed you, not only from Birmingham, but obviously your time in the international setup, Brighton as well?
Yeah, she's had wonderful people around her, Amy, and she's had a wonderful grounding as a coach. And she will probably say that herself, with having Hope around her and some of the other staff she's worked with. I think she's demonstrated now her capabilities as a coach within the Birmingham setup. She's been very competitive. She has a very well organised team, which I think is important. She has very, very clear principles, and you can see that in terms of the way the players behave on the pitch. So I think that speaks volumes of her as a coach and as a person. She's well respected within the game, which is another big positive about Amy, but also I have a lot of time for her as an individual, and I know that this game's going to be tough. She'll have those players really well drilled and really well organised for this game, and their energy will be high, so we have to make sure we go above and beyond that if we want to be competitive in this game. And I think she has a bright future in the game, and I think this is only a start of her career in club football. But you see the pedigree she has. She's been in the international setup, also with England. So, yeah, she's a top coach, and no doubt she has a bright future.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Martin. Best of luck.
Cheers, Dan. Thank you. Have a good day.
Charlotte.
Hey, how you doing? I know you're trying to behave yourself and not comment on the format, but I'm going to push you. That is not kicking on the table. What do you make of the format? How do you find? Because there's no comparable format in any competition, is there?
No, I think no matter what format's put in place, no matter what we think, no matter what anyone thinks, we're always going to have a difference of opinion and a diverse opinion to that. What you would think with this competition is, could it be broader? Could you have more teams within it? How could you do it to support more youth development, maybe? Like you have with is it the men's competition where they play where there's the Premier League 2 teams playing? Yeah, is it like a National League Cup or like a St. John's Paint Trophy Cup, is it? Where you could maybe introduce the 19s groups into it, in that way, where you actually then push and challenge youth development maybe. But no matter what the format is, more importantly here at this club, I will give young players an opportunity to progress. I'll give young players an opportunity to play. And as I said before, that's got to be right for them and right for their development. But the competition we're in a really strong group now. We want to make sure we can progress in that, whether that is the Subway Cup now or the FA Cup, where you have to go through rounds, straight knockouts. we have to just control what we can control, Charlotte, and make sure that we focus on it, because there'll be loads of diverse opinion on how competition should be run, but my job's to manage Tottenham.
And in look, we saw your reaction after the Brighton game, right? Pretty clear you like winning. How ambitious are you for this competition to actually lift the trophy? What difference could that make to this women's team this time?
Oh, huge. I think to confidence and belief of a team, and a real opportunity to kind of show that Tottenham is part of a really strong team and pack of teams within this league, and not that it's just a one-directional competition where a group of teams just seem to win it. So making sure that we can go into this competition and we can push ourselves, we can challenge one another as a collective staff and players. But I feel when we perform on our day, Charlotte, if we're organised and we're efficient, I feel we're a match for anyone. And more importantly, the more we can keep growing and developing, I feel we can become more of a match for anybody around us, and then we can push more to those latter stages of competition. So no matter what game I go into, if it's cup, if it's league, I always want to win. I hate losing. I'm now going to make sure that we continue those behaviours and that mentality with the group, so Tottenham becomes a force within this league and in any competition that we can go out and win.
Do you think this competition gets enough respect, like from the media, from the coverage is scant, there isn't much conversation about it? Do you think it's not equivalent to the way that the men's league cup is covered, for example? Do you think it gets enough respect?
I don't know the ins and outs of how it's publicised or commercially how it's run. I know it used to be on YouTube. I don't know what it's on now. I know we put them on Spurs Player Times in terms of so the fans can watch, and that's the most important thing for me, that we have the opportunity when it's rife to put it on our channel so our fans can see our players and our teams. And however the Subway Cup is going to be run, if that's commercially shown on YouTube or a different platform, then brilliant. But more importantly, I want to make sure that we control what we can control, and if that's us putting ourselves and our games on our platforms, then we do it to make sure that we're a pioneer leading the way that our fans can see our players.
And just a final one from me. Jessna's last season broke into the England squad and just missed out on going to the Euros. She's not in Serena England's latest squad. Think she's a bit unlucky?
Yeah, I think Jess has performed well. What Serena chooses, you'd respect as a coach. She's the national team coach and she picks what she feels is right. And what I do know is Jess has taken big steps. She's definitely in Serena's plans and Serena's eye line, because we've spoke. And it's just making sure now we can continue to push Jess and challenge Jess to make sure that she's always in that position where Serena's thinking of her. And she's had a wonderful start to the season. And we have to make sure that Jess continues with that confidence and belief. And I have no doubts that she'll be in that England setup in the future.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, Charlotte. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte. Alia?
Hey Martin, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
In this competition against Aston Villa, it was obviously a very intense game, but eventually with a positive outcome. What have you learned from that first game in this competition, and then what do you hope to either change or continue in the match this weekend?
We learnt a lot, I think, about playing in a 3-game week physically, which we know is always tough. It's in the middle of a week, it's against a top team. It was against a totally different system and a different way of playing. So we learnt a lot from a football perspective, but I think we learnt a lot about ourselves in terms of our grit, our determination, our work ethic, and then the bravery and courage of the players to step up and take penalties. And also at the other side of that, Lisa making some big saves. So we learnt about a real strong mentality and courage from the players to really push and challenge, but also make sure they took the extra points out of the game.
Yeah, I'm just kind of leading on from Lisa, her nomination for WSL Player of the Month. It's not often that we see goalkeepers nominated for this award, but how important has her performance been to the team's success in both the Cup and the league so far? What is her influence on the other players in the team, particularly the younger keepers, like the likes of Eleanor Heaps and Sophie Jackson, who have received England call-ups since she's been out of the club? And also, do you feel goalkeepers in general deserve more recognition?
Yeah, I think Lisa's had an impact since I've been here, especially, and obviously I can only speak from when I was here. And she's definitely had an influence on Eleanor and on Sophie, definitely. because they've had obviously good recognition, but also what it does is it challenges Lisa to be better, to make sure she can maintain a certain level of performance with having two goalkeepers behind you pushing you. And she has a big impact on the team in terms of how we play, but how also we defend. And her organisation and communication behind that back line is vital to what we do. And more importantly, I think her recognition for Player of the Month is a credit to what she's delivered for the team, but more importantly, it's a credit to herself for getting that recognition. And goalkeepers will usually get the plaudits when you see how to win and it's maybe a low scoring game, but also Lisa's getting recognition for performances where we've won the game, but she's also made some big saves in big moments. And that's really important for me in terms of knowing I've got a goalkeeper there that can make that save in that moment, even when you don't have much to do.